Welcome to a comprehensive Heroes of Newerth guide on Myrmidon. Myrmidon is an intelligence support ganker and initiator that complements any hero lineup. Myrmidon's main abilities hold and stop enemy heroes from initiating or running away. Let's quickly familiarize ourselves with his abilities. His first and most useful ability is Weedfield, a 1000 range line hold that holds all creeps and heroes caught within it for up to 2 seconds. It also does 125 magic damage per second and reveals stealthy units. His second ability is Magic Carp. Myrmidon shoots his magical water companion out at an enemy. It always deals damage unless disjointed, and when it collides, it does up to 250 magic damage, and if the enemy was running, it knocks them over. This ability is most seen as the first ability that Myrmidon uses after engagement, because it sets up his Weedfield very nicely. His third ability is Waveform, essentially an initiation tool or an escape tool. Myrmidon glides to the targeted location from 850 range. He then applies a slow to all heroes who he's passed, but most of the time he'll use this ability to get out of bad situations or escape from gank attempts. Myrmidon's ultimate is Forced Evolution. He transforms himself into a muscle-bound fish with strength-like enhancements. He gains health, does increased magic damage on attack, and slows his enemies who are nearby when he transformed. Myrmidon is one of the best support heroes in the game, and definitely caters to people who want to gank a lot. His mobility is high, his damage output is good, even early on, and he can purchase wards for the team, allowing the team more vision over the rest of the map. As Myrmidon, it's your job to set up ganks for your teammates. If you're able to, you should be wandering around trying to engage when there's a serious advantage for you, which essentially means any situation where you can have 2 vs 1, 3 vs 2, or higher advantage. With your Waveform ability, you should be able to rush into the enemy's faces and unleash your abilities, allowing time for your companions to show up. Just remember that you are a support, and you are squishy, so every engagement might not go your way, especially if the other team has a lot of burst and stun. Just remember that if you can set up a kill for your team, then you're doing your job. Try not to take the last hits unless absolutely necessary. You should be able to afford the majority of your items off assists and creep kills. Myrmidon's abilities do make it hard to not take the last hits sometimes, but try your best. The last thing you want is an angry teammate who started bashing on you for taking the kills instead of focusing on getting his farm. On the downtime, you should be buying wards or counter wards and placing them in strategic ganking positions, or around the runes for your middle. Try setting up as many ganks as possible, also attempt to stack neutrals for your carries or pull bottom or top lane respectively for your lane partner. Don't use your abilities to outfarm your lane partner. It's not your job as Myrmidon to get all the gold. You're supposed to be helping your laning partner as much as possible, and if you're using your abilities to push the lane into enemy territory, you're not doing your job very well. Instead, use your abilities to harass the enemy heroes in your lane and attempt to get them low enough for a gank. Use TPs to help other people who are also getting ganked. If you notice somebody is running and being chased and they're wildly using pings, TP to them. Your abilities will either help them get away or even help set up the counter gank, especially if the heroes are tower dive. Try to remember to use pings frequently and call when you're about to be going on a player. The last thing you want is to waveform into a battle your teammates weren't ready for, and die because you didn't get the backup that you didn't call for. Let's go over some items. If your team already has heavy support, someone who wards and does all the other support related activities, then you should be focusing on building pretty defensively or offensively depending on what your team needs or your playstyle. You should most likely always get Striders as your boots because mobility on Myrmidon is especially useful. Use your Striders to get in close to use your abilities. Toss your abilities out and then back off with Waveform if necessary. Since you'll be trying to use your abilities as much as possible, you're going to need regen, and regen comes in many forms. Mostly the regen I'm talking about are Power Supply and Chalice. Since you're going to be throwing out a lot of abilities and most likely be in a lot of fights, Power Supply will keep your mana pool from dwindling, allowing you to use your abilities more, same with the Chalice. Now in order to counter the health loss from Chalice, your next item will probably be a Life Tube, which will eventually turn into a Helm of the Black Legion. The Helm of the Black Legion will also make you a lot tankier when you dive on enemy heroes, allowing you to escape if necessary, and passively allow you to regen your health more effectively. From here on out, the item road is really open-ended. It really depends on what kind of playstyle you're going for or what your team needs to combat the enemy heroes. If there's lots of stunners or someone like a Tempest, you should pick up a Tablet of Command to counter them and to help your heroes escape from stunlock. Of course, Myrmidon can be played as a pure ganker as well. This would mean that you should pick up some spell shards as soon as possible. That will increase your mana pool and damage output significantly. One of Myrmidon's easiest combos is to toss out a Magic Carp, wait for it to almost hit, and then immediately toss out a Weedfield. If you time it properly and position Weedfield accordingly, you can guarantee that your Weedfield will hit. The beauty of this combo is that if the enemy keeps running, they will still fall over and not only be stunned, but held in place by Weedfield, taking significant magic damage. His other abilities are more situational, like Waveform being used to escape, or using his ultimate to give himself a health boost to survive, or slow the enemy heroes. Using the Magic Carp Weedfield combo is the Myrmidon bread and butter. You should practice doing the combo so that you can always nail the hold off Weedfield and do more damage to the enemy. Countering Myrmidon is actually pretty tough. Using someone who has a massive attack range helps a lot, so that in the early game you can force Myrmidon to stay back a bit. You're probably not going to be able to stop his abilities from coming out too often, but you can also practice pressing hold just before Magikarp hits your character so that you can at least not get knocked over. Heroes that can stun or do massive burst damage will do well against Myrmidon. Myrmidon, especially in the early game, doesn't have a lot of health, but even if he breaks from stun with a small amount of health, he'll probably waveform away, forfeiting the kill. So be sure to lock him down hard or burst him down fast. The other main counter to Myrmidon is late game, not even joking. Carriers shouldn't have too much of a hard time dealing with Myrmidon late game because they'll have more powerful items by this time to counter many of his moves. Also, if the player is playing a support-oriented Myrmidon, then he'll be quite squishy still. Just remember that he can kite pretty well with waveform and his other abilities, buying time for his allies to show up. Let's quickly go over how to level Myrmidon's abilities while I show you guys some early laning phase footage. First, you should always grab Weed Field. Not only will it help stop early ganks, but it will also help set up ganks for your team. It only takes one good Weed Field to set up a great initiation. Second, you should probably grab Magikarp next to more easily set up Weed Field. Grab another level of Weed Field and then a level in Waveform. Max out Weed Field first, Magikarp second, and your ultimate as you can level it. Level up Waveform last because you really only need one level in it for mobility purposes to rush in and out of combat. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at Myrmidon. Please rate, favorite, and subscribe for more. If you want to play Heroes of Newerth, be sure to sign up using the referral link below. The game is free to play now. So get on that. Okay? Just do it. Get on it. Okay. I'm leaving now.